Been looking forward to this one. As you see the tail of the tape, Manchester's Dan Booth, who's won 6, lost 5. He's 13 years older than 24-year-old Southend up-and-comer Marley Mason, who's on something of a retrieval mission. And no disgrace in the 2 defeats when he was pitched in at a good level. The Louis Doherty fight back in February was an absolute humdinger of a contest. And now back on a Johnny Clark show, back at the Brentwood Centre. I'm looking forward to this one, Andy. They both like to come forward. They might be having a look early doors, but I don't think it'll last long.
No, agreed. And when you look at their 2 careers, there's the similarities, isn't there, really? Because Booth as well has boxed for an area title against Lee Appleyard, went the 10 rounds. Appleyard, a good fighter, so that was a commendable effort. And he's been over some quite long durations as well. Against Martin Crossan went 10, and then 8 against Jake Limon recently. So I think they'll both really fancy this, won't they, as an opportunity to get what they'll feel as a much needed W.
He went the distance back in January over 8 rounds with Jake Limon, who has won again in the last couple of weeks. Son, of course, of the late Willie Limond, one of Scotland's finest over the years. So he's experienced, Dan Booth. He's a bit heavier as well. He comes in 3 pounds heavier than Marley Mason, who, when Barry and I were commentating on some of his early fights, there was talk that he might even get down to super feather, but obviously a bit above that tonight. And it's going to be interesting to see if any of that plays a part. But he loves coming forward.
Yeah, he does. And this, good shot. I was going to say, this fight tonight, soon as someone lands with a good shot, and that might just be it there from Dan Booth. But again, on paper, this got all the ingredients of being a really good scrap. Not even a fight, a good scrap to watch.
And as a fighter, Barry, when you know what you might be up against or in for, can that sometimes work the other way, or do you eventually you will be what you are?
Well, it can get you, it can mentally ruin you. But I think if you want to be successful as a boxer, then it inspires you in the gym. It gets you, you train harder. Your focus is more, and then come fight night, is where you want to be. I was never that sort of fighter, to be fair, but I've heard that from others.
Well, there's that left hook from Dan Booth earlier in the round that clipped Mason. Took some heavy right hands in particular in that Doherty fight.
Oh, good shot.
The way they're set up, they're quite similar, aren't they, in a way, because they both need to get close, really, to land. Neither one throws the jab all that much. He does look like he's maybe a candidate for an uppercut, Booth, because he does lean in quite drastically at times.
Good double jab from him, and he landed that big left hook. Nice little moment between them. By Mason's standards, that was a low-key start.
Yeah, it was. But again, I think he's in with a guy he knows who's physically tough and strong, naturally bigger than him.
Pace yourself.
Yeah, I think so, yeah, look at it, yeah. If I was Booth, though, I would jab low and wing the right hand over the top. But Mason got a nice loose style, but it is hands out a little bit low at times, and I think that's an opportunity there for you to do that. Jab low, be the bigger guy, step in, stay there, hold your feet, and then just whip that right hand over the top.
Boxing family for sure, Mason. His dad Tom was in the ABAs. Young brother Sonny, a boxer as well. Both his sisters into karate too. So very much a fighting family. It'd be interesting to see his style-wise whether he reverts to type, whether we're going to see a bit more of that sort of high press, high energy, intense press from him. Certainly so far in his career, Mason has enjoyed working up close, working inside. Nice right hand to the body there from him.
But that's going to be hard for him tonight, because he's got a guy who's, again, like I said, probably physically stronger, also keeps his shape really well, hands up nice and high, doesn't give you a massive target to hit. though there is one down the middle, but then you've got to adjust your feet and move around the target before you let the body shots go.
That long left hand into the body was a good shot there from Mason, because as Barry says, he doesn't need too many openings, Booth, but he found one there.
Getting off with his shots here, Booth, though. Although clipped with one in that little exchange, just starting to simmer.
Oh, good shots, good movement as well, just leaning forward and leaning back and sliding out with that left hook there. Mason.
Yeah, that's where he likes to work. Little shoulder turns, creating little angles as much as in defence, as then turning those into attack.
Come on, Marley, treat the body! Treat the body, come on!
Good left hook there from Booth.
He throws that well, doesn't he? He just explodes out of that shell and really gets something on it. And that one he followed up with a right hand too. And this is just warming up nicely now.
Double jab, both having successes, both finding the rhythm.
But it's weird, Nick, because the first round you don't want to lose, then every other round you want to win. And that's how it changes with more commitment.
Maybe Booth's just been the busier of the two.
It's not an easy round to score, this
No,
one, because
it's nip and tuck, isn't it?
he was having a good spell, Mason, and I thought he was just beginning to put them together and maybe getting on top a bit, and Booth probably sensed that and fired back the last 30 seconds or so.
There's no doubt this is a fight that Booth could get his teeth into, I think, mentally, in terms of preparation and getting excited about. Again, it's Booth who's just having the last word.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be competitive, this, but it's been a good start by Booth. Let's get over to Alan.
The Romford Bull, Johnny Fisher, is at ringside tonight watching the show, and as we can see, your arm is in a sling. They've just announced that your fight on the 28th December is postponed. Just talk us through what's happened.
I'm absolutely gutted. I've torn my bicep on the actual muscle itself, so it's quite serious, but I've caught it very early and I've been able to scan it, and we can do it without surgery, so I'm very happy about that. But good job I took the precautions necessary. I'm just gutted for all my fans who wanted to come and watch.
Do you know roughly how long it's going to take you to come back when the fight's going to be rescheduled?
The rough estimate is about 2 to 3 months. Hopefully it can shorten that down a bit. The ultrasound was positive yesterday, more positive than the MRI, so it should be okay.
Brilliant. Well, enjoy the show tonight.
Thank you very much.
Town heroes, and he is absolutely one of them in Romford. He shifts a couple of thousand tickets every time he fights, wherever he fights in the country, and just so frustrating for him to have that momentum stalled.
2 to 3 months. He will have to wait. His fans will have to wait, just as he was building momentum, and really impressed by the variety of those in the crowd that were there to see him at the Copper Box last time up. He's bringing different people to the sport, and that part of the world getting right behind him. We've been speaking about that as a theme tonight. Here we are halfway through this one. Nice little overhand right, that from Marley Mason, who probably needs to pick things up a bit here, and it's been not easy to score so far through 3 rounds, but Barry, I think Dan Booth's made quite a good start.
Yeah, just a little bit busier and a bit more weight on the shots, but there's a nice smoothness to the work of Mason, Marley Mason. Just needs to, rather than step back like that, just move around the tag a little bit more. He's been more fleet-footed. He doesn't have to always back up too far. Because we've been saying that he needs to be close to be effective, to make it to work. He doesn't throw long shots, so don't remove yourself from the target. Just go around it.
Nice little uppercut to the body there from Mason as well. Because he's so comfortable up close, he'll feel that he's angling and blocking most of these shots. So he probably feels quite comfortable in those exchanges, both in terms of the way the fight's unfolding and possibly the scorecards too. But sometimes the look is as important as anything when you're thinking about the scorecards.
Into the final minute of this third round, and it's a really good watch. There's a real intensity to it. They're not throwing bundles and bundles of punches. Nobody's really winding up. We've not seen any blood or snot flying yet, but they're right on each other all of the time, and someone's always throwing something. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, it's controlled aggression, isn't it? I must admit, I thought Barry was going to be a bit more helter-skelter than this.
Yeah, so did I. I didn't see anyone taking a backward step at all. I think he's been more light on his feet there, Mason. That's a good left hook from him there.
And I think much of that is because Marley Mason's a bit more controlled or boxing within himself at the moment. And maybe that'll change.
And just, I don't think he can physically move back, Booth. A good right hand over the top, though.
Yeah, that was an eye-catching shot. He tried that earlier in the round and missed it, but just creating the angle for that eye-catching shot.
For me, I thought the second half of that round there, even though Booth was throwing shots, I don't think he landed with so many. For me, I think Mason had a really good second half of that round there.
Did you get your Oasis tickets, Barry?
I'm hoping they're going to be playing in on the Joshua Dubois bill, aren't they?
He's trying to talk him into it, isn't he, Turki Al-Sheikh, trying to talk them into the reunion happening well ahead of schedule. I think even he might fall short with that one, because imagine the...
Well, listen.
Did you get yours?
No, I didn't even apply. The memories of the 90s will stick with me fine enough.
You haven't got any memories of the 90s, Steve.
To be fair, there was a...
Let's delve into that story, shall we?
Oh, here's the next round. Round 4 of this one. Is the tempo going to pick up? Are we going to see a bit more of the old Marley Mason? He's still having successes with the version we're seeing tonight. Not an easy one to score so far.
You're just kind of waiting, aren't you, for someone to make the first dent?
Yeah.
Because no one's really done that yet. There'll be a big moment in the fight when it happens.
And you tend to think it might be Booth because he looks like he's a heavier handed, or certainly stronger, not bigger puncher, stronger puncher. But it just might be that Mason catches him with a whipping shot.
Yeah,
as he's throwing.
Also, those odd occasions, Barry, where he makes a miss and then he's whipped in the right hand, and you could just be one of those where you're actually moving on to a shot while it's been thrown and just doubling up the impact. But we'll see. In several ways this could play out.
Nice good few jabs there, and again there from Booth.
Clip with a little counter, and that's better from Mason. He really is smooth up close.
Yeah. And that's why stepping back too far back means you gotta start all over again. Like, he's smooth and he rolls quite well, so when you roll, rather than slip back, roll and just take a little step round to the other side. You're only got to be a quarter step enough to make Booth so Booth can't hit you.
And I actually think that this version of Mason might be better for his career going forward.
Yeah.
It's just maybe tonight you might need to be a little more energetic or busier to help yourself on the cards.
Obviously, Mason can hear the corner of Booth giving instructions. Wasn't happy with that. So gave him a little wave, let's say.
Oh, another chopping right hand.
Of the two, he's just picking his punches slightly better, isn't he, in the last couple of rounds, you would say.
Yeah, a bit more quality from Mason in this round.
Good body shot there, though, from Mason as well. That's what I envisaged this fight. When they both ran with the left hook, I thought we were going to see loads of that.
And there is a science and an art to these exchanges where they're almost leaning in on each other and just clawing and pawing for an angle or an opportunity, creating just a half an inch of space to slide in a shot. There is a dark art to all of this.
Massively so, and that's why I'm really enjoying watching it, because
there's the shot that Barry was looking for. The gum shooter has gone out. He whipped in a left hook, and to be fair, Dan Booth took it well.
That gum shooter went about 6 foot across the ring, didn't it? Unbelievable shot.
Well, he spun onto that shot, and I must admit, that's the kind of shot that Barry had been expecting, and it's the kind of shot that I was just talking about a round or so ago that might just lead to a knockout. He wore that well, Dan Booth.
He absolutely did, because he just created enough space for it, didn't he? You were talking about exactly that, about how it's good to watch the skill level involved when you're right up close like that, heads on each other's shoulders, forehead to forehead at times. Who could just create that little bit of space and execute the technique as well? That's absolutely key if you're just going to try and pick a lock, which is essentially what they're doing here. Just before that, about 20 seconds before that, he created a little bit of room for himself, and then threw a left hand which probably just kind of glanced off the stomach of Booth. And you were talking about it earlier, those ripping shots, Barry. One of those sometimes can do terrible, terrible damage. I just wonder whether it might be something like that as we head into the second half, but it's enjoyable, this.
And Marley Mason now, having felt his way into the contest early on, he really is starting to build some momentum through the third and fourth round in particular. There he was looking for that counter again, Barry.
Yeah, he just leans back as well, see, didn't he? And that gives him a bit like a sort of a crane effect. You get a bit of weight on the back foot, and you can lean back and then get some whip in the shot.
But there's really not much in this at all. There's not been much in any of the rounds, has there? And there's a nice double jab there from Booth. He's banging this at halfway.
Oh, it's good work there though from Mason. Well, what's been the real pattern for me is that certainly the last few rounds, Booth has started faster and Mason's taken over in the second half.
I think it was the quality as that fourth round progressed that was the standout for Mason.
Good shot there though from Booth. Dug in that right hand to the body.
One thing it is noticeable compared to, say, the Louis Doherty fight for Marley Mason is because he's dropped the pace, tempo and intensity, he is actually less hittable, Andy, than he was in that fight.
He's a good fighter on the inside, isn't he? You look at the way he kind of slips and slides. It's not been easy to catch him clean. And when you look at Booth, he's got good tight defences. He's taken more on the gloves and on the forearms. He's been hit more, but he hasn't been hit clean all that much. And the conditioning of these two is good too, isn't it? Because this is a demanding way to fight. You're calling on a lot of core strength here, because a boxing stance in itself is a stress position, isn't it? But they're exacerbating it by the way they're going about this. And you just wonder whether one of them might start to wilt a bit in the later rounds.
Well, that body shot will help Marley Mason in that regard. I think the heads just came together. Mason was just blinking with his left eye. And Booth was motioning towards his forehead. We'll keep an eye on that.
Again, I still think that Booth got a jab to the body and come over the top of that right hand.
It was Mason who just missed by a whisker by that same punch.
It's good at the body movement there from Mason.
Yeah, lovely defence from him. It's a good match, this. Really good match. And surely up for grabs down the stretch. Maybe the quality last couple of rounds coming from Mason.
And it's a high-paced fight as well. Even though there's no massive explosion of action, it's constant, isn't it? Oh, and it's physical because they're all so close, and they're real draining fights there.
Yeah, there's no respite, is there? There's no chance to rest for either one of them. They're on each other all of the time, and it's all that bobbing and weaving and dipping at the waist and calling on that core strength and trying to keep those shoulders bunched and tighten those gloves up. It's energy sapping stuff, and up in that ring it's going to be hot too, as it always is. And I just wonder whether just towards the end one of them might just break a little bit.
Will that be because of experience, strength, or will it be age? Because Dan Booth at 37 is 13 years older than Marley Mason, who's just started to get better as this fight has progressed, but still the 3 rounds to go as we move into the 6th. And the beauty of boxing, one of the beauties of boxing, is that after every round you get a chance to move the chess pieces again, to adopt a slightly different strategy, or to just make a little tweak, Barry, that might be decisive.
Yeah, but it's certainly in fights like this, where though it's a physical pattern, it's hard to break that. All of a sudden to get on your toes and start dancing around, it seems like we'll just do it. But your body's just in tune to go up the next round and do the same thing again almost. So the break is very difficult. What'll happen here is someone's going to land with a big shot, and it might not be a knockout shot, but it just might change the mindset of either one. One panics, and the other one gets full of adrenaline, full of a rush of a bit of success, sees a finishing line.
They're so close in those exchanges, and they're committing to the punches. Booth again being busier, as Barry was saying at the start of these rounds.
And because neither one of them has really given any kind of reaction to anything that's landed so far, they've not looked in any way like they're hurt. It's easy to watch this and feel like there's maybe not too much on these punches, that they're not really punching that hard, but they're punching with respectable power here. It's just that both of them haven't yielded in the slightest.
Oh, nice body shot there. Whipped in the right hand, Marley Mason.
Yeah, nice little double left hook there as well from Mason. I think that body shot just slowed down Booth a little bit, didn't it?
Yeah, he touched with a couple and then whipped in the third, bigger shot. Little left hook goes in there from Mason as well.
And then payback will win from Booth, let's not forget. I think he's feeling the pace a little bit more than Mason here, isn't he, Booth? He had Mason where he wanted him there, he just couldn't really fire like he did in the first few rounds.
He's got a couple of rounds left here, Barry. What would you be saying to each of them in the corner? Because you can't be sure how this is being scored, can you? Is one of these two, do you think, going to really try and up and go hell for leather these last couple of rounds?
I think the momentum in the minute is with Mason. So you'll be saying to him, stay loose, don't put too much on your shot, don't load up, but throw plenty. And also, with Mason, it's the retreating, he goes too far. I'd say don't back up, just stay close to him. When you finish punching, either go chest to chest or pivot around the target. And for Booth, I think you gotta just try and get off first. I think in the last cut round, he's waiting for Mason to throw. He needs to get, because he's a physically bigger specimen. So even if you can't hurt him physically with the punches, when you throw, lean on him, push him back.
I think that was quite a telling late flourish from Mason at the end of that round as well. He, having landed the body shots, he just clipped Booth with a couple of big ones towards the end. A lot of respect between these two. I think they knew what they were in for. They were both in with a fight that they thought they could win, and it's been competitive all the way through. Just the sense that Marley Mason is building up a head of steam.
I would agree with that. I think he is ahead. 6 rounds in, I think he is ahead.
I don't know whether they touched gloves after round 7 though. There's a round to go.
They've been doing it pretty much for the last couple of rounds, haven't they? Just respect.
it happened in my last fight. The guy touched the gloves with me in the 7th round. And I said, mate, it's not the last round. And he said, it is for you. And then he stopped me.
2 to go in this one.
Mason's gum shield out now.
I did read that tradition as it is now, of touching gloves at the start of the fight and before the start of the final round, came about because in the early 1900s, Stanley Ketchel and Billy Papka had a fight, these two supersonic middleweights, and at the start of the first one, Papka went to touch gloves with Ketchel, who kind of feinted to touch gloves and then ignored him and chinned him.
Well, you look back on you look back on some of those fights with, say, Dempsey and Willard, and standing over them while they're still trying to get up from a knockdown before clubbing them again. I mean, my goodness me.
Not at the beginning of the round, but Mayweather did it against Victor Ortiz, didn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. That was the precursor for that famous Larry Merchant interview.
Oh, yeah.
Here, though, minute or so to go in the penultimate round. Interestingly, when there was that pause in proceedings, Dan Booth walked away to the neutral corner. He actually took his gum shield out, Andy, didn't he?
He did, and that's
himself.
Yeah, exactly, and that's a sign that he just wants to try and get a little bit more air in, and he's pushing it forward in his mouth every now and again, which is just a habit that some boxers have, but often they do it because they just feel it'll help get a bit more air in if it's not in place, which probably isn't even really true, but you do see it every now and again. But it's been a good pace, hasn't it, right from the start, and at 37 years old, Booth, as you said, is giving away 13 years here, but he's in really, really good shape. Yeah,
it's not frenzied or frenetic in any way, but it is just constant swarming over each other, intelligent pressure, really cute and clever stuff up close.
And he's been outworked, though, for the last 2 rounds for me, Booth. He landed a nice little 1-2 just a few seconds ago, lovely shot, but then it was Mason who fired back with a couple of combinations after that, not Booth. Where in rounds 1 to 4, if he would landed that 1-2, he would have been all over Mason.
Yeah. And in the first 2.5, 3 rounds, that was Booth's calling card, wasn't he? He was outworking Mason.
Oh, good lovely uppercut there from Mason, right on the chin there of Booth. And in a fight like this, at this late stage, that really drains your energy. Those little uppercuts right on the chin, they're horrible shots to take.
Yeah, and he's constantly finding the target now, isn't he?
He's beginning to get to it now, isn't he? It'll be interesting to see what happens in the final round here. If he looks to try and put his foot on the gas a bit here, Mason.
Again, Booth back to his corner, gum shield straight out, gets some air in those lungs. And 1 more round to go. A really competitive fight. Not the kind of would-be mayhem that I was anticipating, but actually in a way more enjoyable for it.
It hasn't been the war we thought, but it's been a better fight technically to watch. Like, it hasn't been a massive technical fight, but I mean in close technically, hasn't it? You know, with these little turns and uppercuts, and it's been physically grueling without being a war of attrition. Did I contradict myself there?
To be honest, we just give you a pass.
No, I don't think you did. It's one of those fights there, basically, that it's never really caught fire and gone crazy at any point, but there's just been no respite, as we said earlier on, for either fighter.
And I think there's been a degree of confidence in the work of Marley Mason through the last few rounds. Really, since that 4th, you wouldn't say he's taken over or absolutely taken control, but
he's won the rounds, hasn't he?
I think so. As I said before, the gum shield out again, that'll be Mason's. As I said before, I think in the sort of short to mid-term for Mason's career, I think this version of himself actually is a better fit. He was kind of full throttle in that Doherty fight, and ultimately Doherty's strength and punching power combined with that, maybe just doing too much throughout. It was an area title fight, he wanted it badly, but I think this more controlled version is probably good for him. It's a good fit.
And going forward, it's definitely a good thing, isn't it? Because it shows that he's learnt from that defeat, that he maybe realised that going about it that way, there's a ceiling there, and that he's better than that. I think that's maybe what he's learnt from that, because this has been good.
Good stuff here from Mason. Showing some nice fast hands. That's good work. See, this is where Booth's got to try and punch with him. You haven't got to punch with him. You haven't got to match him with the output, but just a solid shot. When he's rallying like that, just whack a left hook in. Hope there's a target to hit.
There's a right hook to the body that just made Booth back off temporarily there before he re-engages.
He needs a big finish here, I think, for me, Booth now. Good shot.
Minute left, Bob, minute left. Come on, Marley, last minute, come on.
It's one of these fights as well where it's possible that on the referee scorecard, Booth might not get much reward here. Could be one of those cards where it doesn't really tell the story of the fight.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just thinking that, Andy. I mean, it could be 5-3. Maybe more likely 6-2. I don't know, but I could see 5-3. Still 30 seconds to go in this to change it all. I must admit, I think, just general point here, I think it's probably quite hard for referees to score fights, personally. And I understand from a staffing point of view and costs and all of that why it is economically viable and common sense, but I'm not absolutely personally, no slight on the referees, but I'm not entirely convinced that it's really possible to do both those jobs.
No, I agree with that.
At the same time.
I agree with that. I think it's a big ask. And as you say, it's down to the financials. In other countries, particularly across Europe and other parts of the world, they'll have scoring judges for even 4-rounders, 6-rounders, 8-rounders.
And tradition as well. Referees always used to score fights, so of course. That was a good scrap. Really good, entertaining.
It was, wasn't
really entertaining fight. We knew it was going to be an entertaining fight. It wasn't the fight that we thought it was, but in its own right, it was a real good watch.
Yeah, there was a bit more nuance to it, wasn't there? A lot of up-close artistry of a certain type, and we just felt that from the fourth on, Marley Mason took an element of control to it, and there was just a bit more quality to his work. And he's enjoying himself. He feels quite confident that he's got the job done. He's enjoyed himself.
Well, you said you could see 5-3, and that's what we got.
Yeah. I think you probably gave Booth the first 3 rounds and Marley Mason the last 5, maybe. But there was a few close ones in there. But I think we got the right winner, Barry. He got better from the sort of maybe late in the third onwards.
Yeah, he bridged the gap, didn't he, in the last half of the fight massively. So it was only one winner, but Booth made it really competitive, and he had a really good start. Just the youth, the athleticism, and that whipping left hook that he thought was a changing point for me. Not so much that Booth was really hurt. I think Mason grew in confidence there and started to believe in himself a little bit more, and it was a really good performance. And it's good to get back to winning ways. And also to give you a bit of a realistic. You haven't always got to jump levels like he did. You know what I mean? It's building blocks to fight for title fights, and I think he realises now just a few more fights around this level and above before he goes back to sort of like the 10-round distance.
Absolutely right. Well, he got the job done. He's back on home turf, and he's back to winning races with that.
Marley, yes, you are back to winning ways. You said that you went in there with something to prove tonight. Do you feel like you proved what you wanted to?
Let me just tell you one thing. put some respect on my name. I'm not a journeyman, I'm a prospect. This is where I belong. Yeah, in the Brentwood Centre, in top tier, Johnny Clark Show, this is my hometown.
How good was it to be back on a top tier show? You described it as your home. Presumably we're going to see you on an upcoming show again.
I was about retired to be actually. I thought, you know what, I fell in love, out of love with it for a bit, but, you know, I spoke to my coach, spoke to my family. I suffered from mental health as well, a little bit, 2 fights ago, but anything's possible when you put your mind to it. And I'm here now, I'm back to winning ways, bring on the next opponent.
Great to have you back, Marley.
Thank you very much. One last thing, Harry, I'm coming for you.